The NBA draft lottery is in the books. The results kind of sucked. And man, am I glad the Toronto Raptors have other avenues to getting better. We'll get into all of it on a live edition of Locked On Raptors. Vivek Jacob will be along in a sec here too. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to a live edition of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day here on the Locked On Raptors YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for telling a friend, etc., etc., etc. I'm your host, Sean Woodley. Been covering the Toronto Raptors now for a long time, 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join our Discord, which is displeased right now, confused, losing its mind. All of that, go check it out. The link is in the description of the podcast or any past podcast, or message me and I'll let you in there. Either way, let's get to it. Today's live edition of the show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Here, talking about the draft lottery, which just went down, and your Toronto Raptors will pick 9th in the upcoming NBA draft after having the 7th worst record in the NBA. This was about as low as they could fall. There was a tiny little chance they could fall to number 10. They did not do that, but with a bunch of teams jumping from the lower reaches of the lottery, including the damn Mavericks, the Spurs jumped up. All very unpleasant stuff. The Sixers keep their pick. This is like one of the least ideal possible lottery outcomes I could have conjured up in my head. I'm not having a great time over here, but let's get to it. Let's get into just the first blush reaction to the Raptors picking 9th. My number one thing here with the Raptors picking 9th is that I am thrilled that the Raptors didn't throw all of their chips on the lottery, saving their bacon and helping them power out of a rebuild. We just saw it. The Washington Wizards were awful, one of the worst teams in basketball, and they fell to 6th. The Utah Jazz, also awful, shamelessly tanking all season long. They fell to, the Wizards 6th, the Jazz are 5th. You have the Pelicans drop to 7th. The Nets drop to 8th. All of these teams dropping down. The Hornets even, one of the worst teams in the league, they fall to 4. You have the Mavericks, Spurs, and Sixers getting those top 3 picks. The lottery will not save you. It is not here to save you. It is here to ruin your life and dash your dreams. And if you're a team that is throwing all of your hopes for the future into the lottery saving you, tonight was a pretty good example of why that's a silly way to live as a franchise. It's just, man, it's tough stuff. Like, this is, hey, it would have been great had the Raptors moved up. We'd be laughing. We'd be saying, oh, this is incredible. Look at these geniuses for being the 7th worst team and properly tanking, getting Cooper Flag. It's all random. It's all dumb luck. And the Mavericks getting the first overall pick of all teams, the team that traded Luka Doncic and then spent 4 months pissing itself because it couldn't handle the criticism, the very fair criticism over the Luka Doncic trade, gets bailed out, gets their future saved with this lottery win. Kind of ridiculous. The Spurs, hey, great for them. They're the one team that can say the lottery has saved their bacon. They get Victor Wembanyama, and now they're going to get Dylan Harper. Great. Maybe they trade that pick for Giannis. I don't know. Either way, the lottery exists to ruin your day, to make you upset, to not make you feel like your season was worth anything. All of these teams, the Jazz, Wizards, Pelicans, I was just on a live stream with the host of all of these shows, and all of them are feeling worse than I am today because the Toronto Raptors at least have a way out. The Raptors have a backstop to them not winning the lottery, and that is the Brandon Ingram trade and this sort of slow build up to competency, up to a deep, some of its parts type of team that they're on the way to procuring. Brandon Ingram's a big part of that. They'll have the 9th overall pick in this draft, and we'll get into it later on in the show. We'll get into some guys that we like, but when Vivek pops in, we'll talk to him about where he's feeling. But for me, man, I'm happy the Raptors didn't throw all of their eggs into the lottery basket, and they have this hedge, the Brandon Ingram trade, that allows them to go into next year and not have to do this lottery dance again. Doing this every year sucks. Being a fan of the Washington Wizards sucks. You don't get these years back, man. Eventually, sure, one day it'll all pay off. And yes, to get those true top of the league, inner circle superstars. It's very likely you got to be picking high to get them. There are other ways to build a functional team. There are other ways to go forward with your franchise. I talked about the Indiana Pacers on today's show. A great example of this, right? A team that's never really picked higher than 7th, I don't think. Ben Mathurin, Jarris Walker were their 2 highest picks during their recent stretch of not being very good. They make an opportunistic trade to go and get Tyrese Halliburton. We have a question, by the way. We're going to get questions in the back part of the show. Once we're done with the show proper, once Vivek is in, we're going to do just like a live Q&A. So please keep on your questions dropping in. Thank you for being along, and we'll get to those questions as we go forward for sure. But back to what I was saying. Lost my train of thought. I'm just happy the Raptors are in a spot now where they can go into next season, try to follow the Pacers model of you make an opportunistic trade here and there, you draft well in the margins, you develop guys, make them into rotation players, and all of a sudden you have a roster full of 9, 10, 11 good basketball players who can kind of play a cohesive style, play with an identity, all that good stuff. It's, to me, the better way to go, especially for a franchise in the Raptors that's just won a title. We're not thirsty over here. We're doing fine. I'm like swathed in my championship gear still. I still wear my hoodie around from the championship. Like, it's all there. We're ready to bring in Big V here. What's up, Big V?
What's up, man?
The Dallas Mavericks. How you feeling, man?
I feel like Adam Silver did his thing.
Yeah, what is this? Fish? I'm smelling fish everywhere. What's going on here? I was just waxing poetic, my man, about how just happy I am that the Raptors didn't throw all their eggs on getting better into the lottery basket. And yes, they're 9th, and that stinks. And it'd be better if they were picking high, but having Ingram and just like a clear path to winning 40-something games next year feels pretty good to me right about now. I bet the Wizards and the Pelicans and the Hornets and the Jazz and all of these teams that fell down probably wish they had made some kind of hedge against lottery luck. What say you to that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was some kind of agenda going on. And it was like, oh man, these Mavs fans are really unhappy that I got, Luka to the Lakers.
Oh, so you're going full conspiracy theory. Okay.
So we got to find some way to fix this. Jeez. Well, it's too bad that stops the Spurs from getting the number 1 pick. From the Raptors
they needed it too, definitely.
Once we saw that the Raptors had the 7th best odds, the most likely position based on the percentages was 8th.
Yeah.
And so you end up 9th, and yeah, it'd be nice to be Philly. You would like to be in that position, but this is the way it played out. The Raptors are going to get a solid player. We don't know if there's probably less certainty at 9 than there is with those guys in the top 4. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a solid pick.
As internet pal Jason Hindle noted to me on Blue Sky, the Raptors have had the 9th pick a few times before. It's been quite friendly to them in their history. They got Tracy McGrady at 9 in 1997. They got DeMar DeRozan at 9 in 2009. Never heard of him. And then they got Jakob Poeltl, of course, at number 9 back in 2016, the draft where they kicked ass and changed their franchise forever. So, yeah, I mean, look, yeah, it'd be better to get a good guy. There's no doubt about it. But I trust that the Raptors front office is going to draft well. And like whoever they pick here, I think comes in pretty clearly as their best prospect in the door. I mean, maybe you say Jacoby Walter, you have a higher belief in or whatever, but pedigree wise, the 9th pick in this draft versus the 19th pick in last year's draft, like he's going to come in the door as the most highly touted prospect they have on hand. And you get to add him to a mix of just like a lot of pretty interesting potential NBA rotation players. It's not sexy. It's not, unless they really go and hit a home run, which that would be great. And we can talk about if you have any sort of preferred guys coming up later on in the show. But yeah, man, I think considering that the lottery is designed to leave you feeling disappointed, I feel like I'm actually holding up all right with it. And I think it's probably because all these other loser-ass tank teams lost. And like, I like the karma of that. I don't love that the Mavericks were the team that jumped up. It'd be cool if, like, I don't know, the Blazers had moved up. They were kind of my pet team of, that'd be kind of cool if the Blazers jumped into the top, considering they were ethical down the stretch and won like 36 games. But yeah, it's the Mavs. The Mavs. Man, we'll come back, Big V. We'll get things rolling here. We're going to get some questions and answers in a little bit later on as well. But first, we got to tell you about some good friends, and we'll do that in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by our pals over at Hungry Root. Vivek, do you like shopping? Do you like going grocery shopping?
Sure.
That's not what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, I don't have the time for that, man. I got too much stuff going on. I've got blogs to write and podcasts to record and draft lotteries to examine. I don't have the time to go shopping. And Hungry Root makes it so you don't have to, because they are going to do the shopping for you. Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning, offering personalized recommendations based on your taste and health goals. You can tailor your order to what you like or don't like, and it gets smarter every single time. You get high quality, nutritious food. You can stick to your whatever your diet might be very easily. Meals come together quick, giving you more time to do things like podcast with your pal Sean. Take advantage to this this exclusive deal. Boy, get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedInNBA and use the code LockedInNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedInNBA, code LockedInNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Let's try this again, Big V. Do you ever look at your bank account and ask, where did all my money go?
All the time.
There we go. Perfect. We love it. Well done. Way to take part in the ad read, baby. Ever check around and say, where'd all my money go? Yeah, that's Monarch Money is here to help you keep track of all your money. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track your spending all in one place, in one easy to go to stop. So you don't just manage your money, you start building wealth. It's great if you have lots of accounts. You need to keep an eye on all of those accounts. Maybe you have a mortgage account, a shared account with your partner, whatever it might be. You can go and keep those all tracked in one spot, know where your money's going at any given time. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LockedInNBA at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LockedInNBA for half off your first year. Go do it, Big V. We continue our live reaction show to the NBA draft lottery, which just went down. To refresh, if you're just joining the live, a couple things. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. We will get to your questions as we go forward. And we got a couple bangers in there, so that's going to be fun. We, of course, will talk a little bit some draft guys we might like at the 9 spot. I certainly have some thoughts. I'm curious where Big V lies on some of these dudes, but man, I can't get over the Jazz, Wizards, Pelicans, Nets being 5 through 8 in the draft. Like, such a good embodiment of why the lottery exists, to make you feel terrible and nothing else. Let's talk about the guys at 9. So I'm not sure, I did my own personal board earlier on today. Obviously, how I rank things is probably not how it's going to go on draft night, because every team has their own preferences and it's all eye of the beholder and all of that. With the 9th pick, do you feel like, is there anyone who kind of stands out to you just based on whatever research you've done, who's like, ooh, if that guy's there, that's a score for the Raptors? Does someone come to mind?
Not necessarily. I think there's a few ways that the team could go now. And I think, because you're lower down in the draft, I probably lean towards maybe addressing the pick positionally a bit, because I think you've got a few guys that fall into the same tier in terms of talent and whatnot. Sure. So I think when you look at the center position, when you look at, potentially you want to look at the power forward if Chris Boucher is gone, and obviously the point guard position, I think those are the areas that you might want to look at. So, I think Thomas Sorber is probably a guy that you would consider.
Thomas Sorber. Ooh, like that.
I think as a big, I've liked what I've seen from him. And I think, even in terms of the way the Raptors want to play, right? He is someone that can move the ball. I think he does understand. I think he would understand Darko's system pretty well. And so I think that's something that has appealed to me and just watching some of his film.
Sure.
So yeah, that's probably one name that I'd throw out there for now. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of torn on this one, because I like the idea of the positional fit thing. I also think, if you're picking 9th, why not just kind of take the biggest possible swing you can and see if you can really like overshoot your draft slot by getting a guy with some serious upside. I have no idea if he's going to be there. I mean, he seems to be going anywhere between like 4 and 15 in different draft mocks I see, but Jeremiah Fears really, I like can't quit that dude. I know the shooting is rough. I know he's just like rough around the edges as a prospect in general, but he was so young at school this year. He should have been a high school senior. He just has this incredible handle. Like, it's so beautiful to watch him just like dribble the ball around and like blow by dudes. He gets to the rim a ton. He doesn't finish at the rim very well. That's the big thing he's got to work on in that regard, as a rim pressure piece. The mid-range shot I believe in quite a bit. The three-point shot was not very good in college. Can that come around? I just feel like a guy with that level of ball handling juice is someone worth betting on and worth kind of just taking a swing. And so if he's there and you can take a swing there, even if like maybe that's not their biggest position of need and they could totally use some size throughout the roster, I think I'm perfectly all right with a swing on a guy who I think his upside is like, oh, this guy can be like one of the 3 or 4 best players from this draft with a ton of creation upside, who eventually is a lead guard one day. Like, it might not work out. That's maybe like a top 20 percentile outcome, but it's on the table for him if everything breaks right. Obviously there are the bigs too. Like, I love Kaman Malawash. If I were a front office, I would not.
You think he drops to 9?
What's that?
You think he drops to 9?
That's the thing. If I'm a front office, I wouldn't let him drop to 9, but I could see the case for why he would. He doesn't have, a lot of sort of like passing pedigree. He didn't perform very well in the end of the Final Four. Like, guys, that's the thing with this draft. I think it's going to be super hard to predict where 3 through 10 ends up. And that's why I've always been kind of like, yeah, okay, like 9's not ideal. Obviously, you want to pick higher, but like someone's going to be there because this morass of dudes between 3 and 10, 3 and 12 is very similar and very much like, I think each team is going to have their very sort of different readings on all of these guys. There's some chatter going on. We'll get into some specific questions regarding trades and stuff, but and like with actual names. But the idea of trading this pick, Big V, is this remotely interesting to you for where the Raptors are at? Because obviously it's going to be a thing that people talk about. I'm sure we'll do full episodes on it at some point. But is there anything that would compel you to trade this pick if you're the Toronto Raptors, kind of in keeping with the powering out of the rebuild thing?
I mean, if it takes giving up this pick to get a certain Giannis Antetokounmpo, it is on the table.
But the 9th pick ain't cutting it, man. I think we can put to bed the Raptors having an actual package to do it at this point, with the Spurs having the 2nd pick.
No, I mean, obviously the 9th pick is not going to be the centerpiece of the offer.
No, but I honestly think it's just like without 1 or 2 in this draft, I don't think they're going to be able to go toe to toe with the other offers that'll be out there. But
yeah, but you asked me what it would take. That's what it would take. Yeah, no. If you get if there's like a superstar in play, that's pretty much the only range, because unless you find like that tier of elite defender who can knock down threes, who you would potentially fit into the RJ spot. That's something to consider. But beyond that, I think I'm okay with hanging on to the pick. So it's good from that standpoint where, again, the Raptors aren't necessarily having to force themselves into anything.
Yeah, I think we'll still entertain the idea of trading for Giannis until it's no longer a possibility. I think at this point it's going to take 9 plus Scotty plus RJ plus all of your picks, all of your swaps. And even then, I think if a team comes in like the Spurs with the 2nd pick, or, the Rockets just pony up all of their picks, which are kind of more valuable than the Raptors picks, it would be a bet for the Bucks against a team that is not the team that has Giannis if they can get those Suns picks. Like, I think that's probably the way that goes. I'm not trading this pick at all, I don't think. I think like we are seeing in the playoffs right now, just having a lot of good players is really valuable, and having cheap depth is really valuable. Like, I think we're seeing the way the roster's kind of transformed itself already over the last year or so. I think you've got to continue to kind of keep that pipeline rolling. You've got to have more guys on rookie deals who can kind of grow into something for you, especially when you have your core kind of locked in. And it's just, I don't see like a roster balancing trade out there that really kind of moves the needle, right? Like, it has to be a star. if you're going to do it. And I just don't think you're getting a star for the 9th pick in this draft as the main piece going out. And, Giannis obviously is one story, but beyond that, I don't see anyone becoming available that's worth kind of giving up all of the stuff for, when you can kind of just do this slow build thing. And yeah, maybe they're a 6, 7, 8 seed next year, but you have this, again, sort of wave of younger guys coming through, and it kind of helps you keep going up and up and up as time goes on. And you can incrementally improve in a way that if you kind of give up the pick now and go make a big swing, you kind of just have your team, and that's what it is. And you're kind of just like, if you're not going to improve upon that, then you're in some trouble. Yeah, it's and like, there's always, I know there's some chat going on in the comments right now about trading down. It's always a nice theory. Oh, you can trade down and get multiple picks and all this stuff. Yeah, sure. Like it's just always tough to pull off on draft night. And I still think picking high in the top 10 is always a good thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Great. I guess like we'll get into some questions coming up in a sec here, Big V. But overall, just sort of compared to what your highest hopes were for tonight versus how things have gone, not just with the Raptors, but with everybody else in the league, is this like an all-time unfortunate draft lottery?
It's got to be up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sixers getting to keep their pick.
That's a bummer. Although I know some people wanted the Thunder to not get that extra pick, but I'm not worried about that. It's surplus to requirements for the Thunder. I don't really care.
Yeah. So, obviously, we saw Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey with a big smile on their face. So their team now, you look at that, having a top 4 pick, and I think we had an episode where we were talking about, we were trying to place the top 6 in the East for next season, and we talked about the Sixers a bit, and I totally forgot about Jared McCain. And that's another guy that's going to be back in the mix for them.
Lotto Deus representative tonight for Really, yeah.
So I think both from just a competitive standpoint for the Raptors, and just not wanting to see good things for Philly, that was a bummer. And I will say I am happy for Mavs fans in a vacuum.
Yeah, Mavs fans, obviously, that's good for them.
Yeah,
they whined enough and got Adam Silver to hand them a
there
hand.
You go. We got you on board.
Oh man, yeah, this is right. I mean, again, there's part of this lottery I like, which is that 5 through 8 section of gigantic loser teams that continue to be gigantic loser teams and didn't move up. And I think that's great that they didn't get like rewarded for that. I'm still a fan of the flattened lottery odds. I know there's some sort of discourse out there where, the Mavs win, therefore, flattened lottery odds got to go now. No, this is good. Like having this kind of lack of clear incentive to be the worst you can possibly be is a very good thing. And yeah, like being a Jazz fan right now, falling from 1 to 5 in a draft that had one guy that was like tailor-made for your team in every possible way, and to fall to 5 now, it's man, that's tough stuff. I feel bad for the Wizards, I guess, but even then, I don't really feel that bad for the Wizards. I don't feel anything about the Wizards. The Nets falling to 8 is hilarious. I think that maybe takes them out of the Giannis sweepstakes, if they were ever in the Giannis sweepstakes, because they don't have anything to play, like no one to play with him if they were to trade for him. Yeah, so I'll go. This is like a 7 out of 10 bad lottery, with maybe even a 7.5, with the lone bright spot being at least the gigantic losers didn't get the benefit of it. Ethics prevailed, unless you're the Mavs. There were no ethics there at all. Man, the Mavs won. Unreal. We'll come back. We're going to get some questions. We got people with questions in the chat. If you have more questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try to get through as many as possible over the next little bit here on our lottery reaction show. We'll do that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. And Big V, let's do this one more time, shall we? You're an NBA fan. You like watching hoop. Do you feel like sometimes you have hunches that you feel like you'd be like, if I had put some money on that, I'd be right, because I'd win some money because I'm very smart? I'm setting you up here to say yes.
Oh, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's where it was going. Absolutely, Sean.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have way more ways to play than ever before. And if you're a smart guy like Big V, you can make some bucks by throwing some money down on whatever outcomes you think are going to happen in the NBA playoffs. You think the Cavs have a chance of coming back against our Indiana Pacers? I don't think they do, but if you do and you want to get some money, if they do, in fact, pull that off, go nuts. You go check it out over at FanDuel. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, it's question time, Big V. Let's get into some. We might sort of end the podcast proper after a couple of these to avoid it being too long a podcast, but we'll stay live and get through as many questions as we possibly can. So please send questions, and thank you so much for hanging. Let's get to this one here from Notorious Painting and Decorating, asking, what are the chances we use number 9 and something to move up? Interesting. Always tough to put a number on this, like, what are the chances thing, because who the hell knows? But the idea of pairing 9 with something to move up in the draft, it would require some need on the other side from some team. I have a hard time seeing like a real fit, because I feel like, your easy move here is like Ochai Agbaji plus the 9th pick to move up or something like that. If you're trying to maybe dodge the tax or something like that. We didn't talk about that, actually. This probably means the Raptors could just keep RJ Barrett very comfortably this summer with no concerns because they didn't move up in the lottery. So there's that. If you're an RJ Barrett head, that's cool. But when it comes to moving up, pairing 9 with something, what's like the sexiest thing you could pair with number 9 in order to actually move up that you'd actually want to move on from if you're the Raptors?
So first off, I think the main answer to this is just the cap implications.
Yeah.
And so I do think that, being at number 9, the Raptors will be happy to know that they've got a bit more flexibility. And I think at number 9, it figures to be about 6.3 million in the first year. So I think the Raptors will be quite happy about that in terms of managing what's coming up. And yeah, I think in terms of the sexiest piece that you could include with the number 9 pick, that you would be okay with moving on from, I think RJ is on the list. I think Ochai is on the list. You had already mentioned that. And I think that would pretty much be it.
I wonder what it would take to get the Spurs to hand over number 2. They just got De'Aaron Fox. And maybe they want to use it to go get Giannis, but maybe they don't. Maybe they sit that one out. Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, I'm sure it could work. They're both talented guards, but they're kind of similar in what they do. I wonder, you call up the Spurs and say, hey, here's 9. RJ would be like a nice, helpful piece for that team. I think you could kind of get away with his defense with Victor Wembanyama roaming the back line, I think. What else do you have to add into that for the Spurs to be like, yeah, let's do it, guys? Like, it's probably like multiple future firsts, right?
Yeah, it would be about the picks.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they'd be interested in any of the players the Raptors have to offer, because you're, again, in that compete now, win now window, which you expect to last quite a while with Wemby. Hopefully everything is okay health-wise. But man, you have to believe the Spurs are thinking, hey, like, what can we do with number 2?
Let's do the end game. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we just break everyone's basketball brain by putting Giannis and Wemby together? Oh boy, that would be insane.
Absolutely disgusting. Almost as disgusting as Flag and Wemby would have been had they gotten Flag. God, so glad this lottery sucks. Top is a bummer. Anyway, I think Dylan Harper is such a hand in glove fit with what this team is doing that I think you call the Spurs and just kick the idea around. Say, hey, you guys really going to use this pick on Dylan Harper, a guy who plays the same position as the guy you just traded for? What if we take him off your hands for you and kind of give you this 9th pick? That's like a nice pick to add to the Wemby core in this sort of tier of guys from 3 through 10 to 11. That kind of seems a little bit wishy-washy anyway. Here are a couple more future firsts to sweeten the pot. I'm not uninterested in it because of what Dylan Harper could do. I mean, like the sort of feeling I had coming into this lottery was like getting 1 or 2 is a game changer for the team because of how those guys would fit on this team. And I do think it's worth at least giving them a call. All the other spots, don't care so much. If you can get to number 2, very much worth poking around. It's just how realistic is that? I think that's tough to say. Let's get to this next question from Commander Beef. Great name. On a scale of 9.5 to 10, how much more favorably do you see NBA conspiracy theorists now? Well, I invite one on the podcast routinely in our pal Big V. So I've always viewed them rather favorably. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on the show all the time. But I mean, hard not to think like maybe there's something going on here. Like I don't think there is. The lottery seems like a pretty above board operation in the back room, unless Zach Lowe and Doug Smith and everyone else back there has been sworn to go along with the ruse. But like this will go down as one of the all-time NBA conspiracy theories. I think, we're in the first half hour of it existing, but gotta think this one's going to live on for quite some time. No?
I think so. I think it's when you break it down from the Luka trade to what the Dallas Mavs are getting now, and you think back to, of course, Cleveland got the number 1 pick the year LeBron was in the draft. Of course, the Knicks got Patrick Ewing, and hey, the white superstar was only going to end up in Dallas, Utah, or Indiana. I guess Boston couldn't get in there.
The Mavericks, man. Just Nico Harrison. Imagine how punchable Nico Harrison's face must be right now. Just like so smug. So just like, yeah, baby. Man, no, awful.
All part of the plan.
Yeah, all part of the plan indeed. A couple more quick ones, and then we'll stick around for some more mailbag after we end the podcast proper. This one comes from Commander Beef once again. Do you think Malawash or Queen fall to 9? I think it's likely one of them probably does, because it's a weird draft, and bigs are a little bit strange sometimes on draft night. Do you have a preference between these two big men, by the way, Big V? Come on, Malawash from Duke or Derek Queen from Maryland?
I think I lean Malawash. I think, the defensive upside is just so tantalizing.
Yeah.
And I think, there's enough offense to be functional at the NBA level. And yeah, I think, especially, if the mobility is there at the NBA level, I think that would be really, really great to pair alongside Scotty long term. And so I think I'd lead Malawash for sure.
If Malawash is there at 9 and the Raptors don't take him, I'd be kind of floored. I mean, I have him 3rd. I know I'm crazy. I'm like very much outside the box on that one. I think he's number 3 for me because I think we always view upside through like an offensive lens, I think. And his upside is on the defensive end, but the upside is immense. And the idea of pairing him and Scotty Barnes next together as a 4-5 for many, many years is real horny to me. Let's get to one last quick one here. Do we have one more quick one we can get to? Let's see here. This isn't a question, it's just from Brandon Wilcox. Imagine being a Jazz fan right now. Sit with it, Big V. Imagine being a Jazz fan right now. How does it feel? Awful.
Not good.
Man.
Not good at all.
And like, this is the crappy thing about being one of those teams is now the cycle begins again. You know how many Jazz fans are looking at Cameron Boozer clips right now, just like getting excited for next year's draft lottery that will probably also ruin their emotions for good. Like, yeah, it's a rough cycle to be part of, man.
Yeah.
Once again, very glad that the Raptors are not going to be ideally taking part in that cycle next year. It's not a fun place to be as a franchise.
Maybe they can bring his dad in to perfect the tank job to get his son.
just 44-year-old Carlos Boozer, painted on hair, carving up the Jazz practice squad. Man, yeah, rough stuff. That's going to do it for the main podcast portion of tonight's live show. We're going to stick around after I just run a graphic and cut out the end of the podcast, and we'll hang out. And if you have more questions, please keep dropping in. We'll hang out as long as there are questions to be answered, because why not? It's lottery night. Look, it's not the thrilling jump up the lottery board I was hoping for when I planned all this live content, but here we are. So send in your questions. We'll get to some more. If you want them to just be not about the lottery either, have some fun with them. That's cool. We're going to keep hanging here on the live stream. But for those who are listening on audio, thank you so much for tuning in. Much appreciated. We'll have more, of course, this week talking about the draft. Now we actually can hone in on the 9th pick, which, as like a guy who needs to make a lot of podcasts between now and the draft, being able to examine a wide swath of guys that they might take at 9, awesome for me. I love it. It's great. So yeah, we'll have all that covered for you on the show as we go forward here. But thank you for following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, telling your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. So you get fun live stuff like we're doing tonight. If ever you want to hop in on the video side of things. And Big V, he's got the Substack, he's got Sportsnet, he's got all the good stuff. Please go support all of his wonderful work. And we will talk to you, the good people out there, on Wednesday for another episode of Locked On Raptors. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. Oh.